All right. This is part two of Nehemiah. And the first thing we were talking about was, preparation. That's actually what it was about. Preparation, giving a little backstory and a history and the showing of the steps in prayer, um, to just give you a guideline to even help you. And the reason I wanted to break him down because he's, first of all, very inspirational to me. So he set a standard for me as far as in my relationship and my thinking and how I approach things. Um, going forth as in growing uh, in God through Christ Jesus. So we left off with the preparation and understanding how he was strategically positioned and how God is intentional and not despising the small beginnings, because you'll miss it, and then complaining and being in your feelings. It's a healthy way to feel your emotions, and that was also demonstrated that I brought up with and all of that happened within the first chapter. So let's be clear, like the first and second chapter, all of these things took place. Okay, so now we're moving forward with the we talked about execution and alignment. I fasted and prayed, his approach in prayer, because that's important. I even gave tips about if to start fasting, to develop that relationship. Because God is spirit. You're not going to be able to get him in your flesh, in your own way of thinking, to get uh, a deeper understanding and to develop and cultivate that thing. And they need to be cultivated, and it can't depend. Your mothers or fathers or uncles or aunts, I don't care how revered a person is in the family, and they could be great. They can give you advice, they can give you wisdom, they can give you tools, they can be a great example, they can be a pillar. But their God is their God. God has to be your God. It can't be the God of what he or she said. You get to know God as your father for yourself, so that when that man or woman of God that you are inspired by, you're not just leaning on their words. You suppose, was that First John chapter 4 when it say test every spirit? I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you told me and you could prove that you literally walked with Jesus. If you have flesh and blood like me, I am going to verify what you say. I am not going to be disrespectful to you. That's not necessary. I don't have to tell you, certain things, because I have tact, and it's okay to have integrity. It's even okay for some people to say things if you have discernment from a developed relationship with your Abba, your Father. You can discern sometimes when people are saying something and it's really just their zeal. Like they just excited, like they can hear from the Lord, they have a purpose or an existence. And sometimes people can say something and be completely off, but if you discern it's their zeal, do you need to chop and tear them up? No. You can be encouraging to them. God can give you words and a way to approach that. You don't have to break somebody's spirit because you know a thing or you are gifted in a thing. That does not give you the right to tear somebody else down because they're inexperienced and don't know what they're doing. Because it was a time before you got to where you are, you didn't know either. So that's not okay. Let's exercise some maturity. If you're so gifted, you need some maturity to line up with that. That's why it's important to develop character. All the spiritual aspects of God, all of the things that I could share as far as anything in the prophetic, and none of that means anything if your character is not in a good place. You know, what I can guarantee you without character development is fast results, temporal accomplishments, not a lot of success. And if you do have a certain amount of success, it's always going to reach a cap. It's going to be like, oh, I just can never get past this point. I can go further. Like, oh, I can get these 6 figures. I have figured this out like this. I know how to maneuver this like this. But so the level of success some people actually want, they attain it to a degree, but then they turn around killing themselves trying to get to where they can see that they are. But that is the place where you may need God. You know, T.D. Jakes said, you know, one thing he said, Bishop T.D. Jakes, that many years ago, he said, God can meet you in the place where your faith runs out. You know, so in saying all of that, I didn't mean to go this way, but I just, here we are, so we're gonna keep going. But all of that is developed in your own personal relationship. It's so important. Have you seen somebody ever in love with somebody they don't know? Like I've been, I've been attracted to a person. You can be highly attracted and drawn to them, but I'm talking about in love, because in love is not the same as love. In love is different. It's real different. And I have actually truly been in love one time in my life, and it can be consuming. You know, when, especially when it's toxic. Let's start there. Toxic and unhealthy. You know. So you have to invest the time, and don't ignore that we call them red flags. Don't ignore behaviors and things that you know, love does not make flaws disappear. Love covers a multitude of sins. It does not condone them. And it doesn't change them. You have to do that yourself. And saying, oh, well, I want this man, but I don't like the way his temper flares sometimes. But it's okay, because he provides this. I can always count on him. He keep his word. If he says he's going to do a thing, he can be comforting. But when he's angry, then he'll say things that I confided in him in vulnerability. He'll weaponize it. But it's okay. That's just the way he talks. He's passionate. 5 years later, you insecure. You second guess your appearance. You are now mistrusting. And I'm not even going to take it to a relationship with people. It can affect your relationship with God, because now you have learned from ignoring this and excusing this poor thing because of all these other things. You didn't see how cancerous this anger and weaponizing my wounds against me, because that's control. That's what help gain control. But now you want to go pray to God, even though he's all knowing. Again, it's about the power of our confession. You don't want to talk, because now it's you stunted, because you got years of someone pouring into you, and in your mindset now, when I confess and say things, and I think I can trust my husband or wife. And when we have disagreements, the thing that I trusted them with, that vulnerability, they use that against me. You say, well, to one up in the argument or to prove a point. And a lot of times you continue in that behavior, after a while, you'll become a participant too. It's more likely than not that you will become a participant if you don't correct the behavior. And how do people know to correct a behavior or it's unacceptable? If you don't say anything. Ergo, if you don't invest time in prayer and in fasting, how will you hear God if you don't go to God? You don't speak to God. You don't confess to God. One thing I can guarantee you, God does not beat you up with your past. He's not condemnation. He is conviction. And there is a difference. Condemnation will have you feeling defeated. It'll have you feeling stuck. It'll have you believing that there's, no way, or you'll say things like, this is just the way that I am. That's what condemnation will do. Conviction will be like, okay, a godly sorrow is different from just being sorry, because that turns into self-pity, and I can't believe this, and I'm a horrible person, da 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 da. You can feel all those things, but conviction, okay, I'm gonna go back to God. I'm gonna be active about seeking his face about this thing. I can speak about anger because I still deal with anger today, and I'm very good with my words. So I'm learning how to be very careful in how I speak. The using a past against you, like in the context of what I was saying, to weaponize, because it is a tactic for control, and usually that's a learned behavior. So that's important, and you need to be mindful of that, and that's in a friendship too. Because once you sit like, wait a minute, what? It's easy. Like, why do you do that? Why do you do that? Because if I can't trust the person I lay in the bed with, that I'm sharing my life with, that's the up under your relationship with God. That's the next one, your husband or your wife. As a wife that I am not yet, but I want to tell you something. What I've learned from all the wrong relationships, from wanting to be affirmed, wanting to be approved, wanting to be accepted, making allowances for things, because it'll make you sick, and it'll bring out things in you that you didn't even know were there. Because I did not know how angry and violent I could be until I stayed too long, repeatedly, in relationships, from family to intimate relationships. But the wife that I know that I am comes from all of the errors that I made. I could speak on the men. I could, and I can tell you some actual really true things. And you could probably be like, oh, if I go too deep in it, I might shed a tear too, like, wow, I really didn't love me. But that's not what it's about. It's about what I accepted and what I allowed. Nobody was holding me hostage in those relationships. Some people stay together, finances and all this stuff. I done heard people miserable, being abused, and I'm gonna stay married because my medical insurance. I mean, the craziest things, and these are excuses. Just tell the truth. And the wife did like, no, I am a great listener. I'm a great listener. That developed over time, from learning how to be quiet, from being alone and being with God. You need to listen. Women, men are not like us. They don't talk in 4 paragraphs to convey something. I mean, you have some that are long-winded and like to give lectures. But what I'm saying, I'm talking about like whatever length he will take to speak to you, you would do double that in speaking. And just because he'll take time to say all of these things does not mean that he cares and is so in love with you. Because some people are just in all their own intelligence. That's for another day. But what I'm saying is, like, you need to listen more than you talk. You will learn a lot about the man you are interested in and love if you use your ears and let them grossly outweigh the use of this. You will learn a lot. I've had some hard truths told to me. It took everything in me so many times, but I needed to hear and I need to hear how it was delivered, your tone and what you said. I'm even looking at your body language because I need to know, you know, who's sitting across from you, or you just want a aesthetic. No aesthetic is worth what I suffer for. I won't ever do that again. And what it caused me to turn into. I don't ever want to say to someone that I love them and treat them. And it doesn't matter if it was in response to the treatment I was getting. Because I could have walked away. I didn't have to accept it. That's not okay. I don't ever want to talk to anybody, raise my hand in defense, or sometimes I said it without saying it. Like that's not. It's not even about becoming as a lady. It's just me and who I am. Not who I want to be. It's who I've always been. And a lot of times you don't know that because you don't develop anything. You follow what you see other people do. Again, Nehemiah not following other people, developing his own relationship, taking time to sit and wait and listen, taking time to be in touch with his feelings. All of these things that were done from him transfers into every relationship of our lives that we will have or that we desire to have. That'll develop an ability to understand, have a different perspective, ponder, put things in perspective. James 1:19? It can cause you to be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to wrath. And that's important. That's still talking about what I was blessed to get out of Nehemiah 1. All of that I said. And the wife I will be, the example, because I took time to look at that, to pay attention. Some years ago in my early 20s, I asked God to give me the spirit to ponder him and his word, like Mary pondered when she was carrying Jesus. That just stuck out to me in the scripture, that it says she sat and pondered. It is okay to choose silence and sit in some things. Look around. Leave your house. Go sit by some water, trees. If you like bonfires, I love me some fire. And just sit and quiet yourself. That's important for you, for who you love, and for the people that God may send you to help or be of assistance to. You have to be grounded in here, because that is always going to show up eventually. In any crack in the foundation will show up eventually. I don't care if it stood for 15 years. Eventually something's going to start to sink. So be intentional and invest the time. What are you worth to you? What are you worth to you? Not to a man or a woman, or a platform, or how you appear. That's shallow anyway. Because through fasting and prayer, God can begin to open that up and look in the places of your life. 9 out of 10 out of 10 is your childhood, or that foundation got set where appearing good and actually being good is more important, the appearance of it versus actually having it. So I'm going to leave this here. I love you in the love of the Lord. I pray that, whoever sees this is sensitive to me, because you'll be so disillusioned, and you would give somebody power. That was the one thing that scared me the most about being in a relationship after I was in love that time. Like giving somebody that type of power over you is scary. And if you're a person that loves deeply, the reason I'm not gonna say hard, because love is not hard to me. I can be around you minimally. I don't even have to be interested in you in that way. Having love for people is not hard for me. I may never tell a person, but actually just loving a person, being around them. I don't like the state of humans, but it's not hard for me to love humans. You know. So that's like where another person be like, oh no. But you would know that if you knew my character, if you took time to know. You don't have me a certain way. That's actually my nature. I'm really loving. But you won't know that if you go off of what you could see. That's why I say your mother's God, your father's God, whoever you look up to, even where any relationship transitions to or transfers any relationship, is doesn't matter if you don't take the time and invest in it for yourself. Because I guarantee you, like even for like being a teacher, different children can look up to the teacher, right? And then you interview the child and say, well, why did you like Miss Thomas, that's my last name, so very much? You know, they may say some basic things that line up, but when you listen, they are all having, I may be in teaching, giving them the same education, and they're having a similar experience, but it's not completely the same, if that makes sense. And where one child, I like that she was hard on me, and da 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 da. And another child was like, oh, well, I was going through something, and I like that I could confide in her and she didn't judge me. Because at different times, it requires different things. And that's what love is. Correction is love. Sometimes correction has to be a little bit strong and firm, not abusive. Because sometimes you just need to be told the truth that way. You don't need your hand held and to be petted all the time. Sometimes, especially, and I value that from my husband. I will value that. Tell me the truth. I don't believe a person. If you love me and you watch me fall, well, she wasn't gonna listen anyway. I don't care. Now, I'm not saying sometimes you don't have to back up off of people, but what I'm saying is, no. You sharing a bed with me, you better tell me the truth. Because it affects you too. We one. We a unit. Don't let us fall like that. Because if you let me fall, you let us fall. Now backing up so people can see things, and that goes both ways. Because I'm my husband, I'm going to be able to talk to him in private and tell him things in private. And he will hear me. And I will know at different times how to approach him. And you want to know why? I will know when to be abound and be abased, and to make it even clearer when to speak and when to just go mind my business and let him go figure that out. And I can wait. And when I don't understand, I can go to God and he'll give me grace to know when I can speak to him. It's not always what you say, it's how you say it, but it's also the timing of when you say things. And then sometimes it's a time for you to just shut up and don't say nothing at all. Just let them have it. And it's not about winning or losing. It's about peace. And it's about knowing your position at different times. That's in all relationships. But that one is the most intimate. It's the most fragile. It's the strongest. It's the most beneficial. It's the most... That thing can shape you. A husband-wife relationship. Why do you think some people, after they've been together for so long, a mate can die and the other one could leave shortly after? You're becoming one. Knit. I'm talking about a healthy thing. So I'm not about to get no ring on. It's bigger than that, but I do want a nice one. But knit to you and let you all up in my spirit. in my heart meeting, in my space, and then you're going to be a monster? I don't want to be a monster. I want to be loved. I want to be gentle and delicate like a flower. And that comes from establishing time, being intentional, and giving grace. And then sometimes when you see a thing, like we learned from me and Nehemiah, I told you it was 4 months before he approached the king. Timing. Giving people, you in this instance of relationships that I veered off to, is grace to give that person time sometimes. Sometimes people don't see themselves just because you see it. And just because you point it out 20 times. We all have a way that we think is right until we figure out it's wrong. And these steps that are saying are always great to hear, and implementing and walking them out is tough at times. And I haven't been married, but I'm not telling you nothing that I haven't done. I have been through the trenches with some people. Now, I wasn't in love at all. I just cared. And I loved them as a person. And I may have a deep love and a deep caring for some people, but I've only been in love once. And to be clear, so we won't have any, he's deceased. So let's do that. And that's what everything that I spoke about in this moment, when you sit and ponder the word and you reflect on life, is simply what I got out of the first and second chapter of Nehemiah. I'm going to progress to the second part of Nehemiah, but I do allow and make room for the Holy Spirit to flow and go forth however he would see fit. Because what I trust and know is I may not see the person that needs to hear this, or the people that may need to hear this. I don't know the day, the time, the hour. It could be in the next day. It could be in the next 3 months. It could be in the next year. I don't know. But what I will tell you is the God that I serve, I know that at the right time, at an appointed time, for the people that need to hear what just happened right now, it's gonna apply. It's gonna encourage. It's going to cause reflection, and it's going to be what those specific souls need at whatever time that they hear it. So I'm going to end this one and let you know again that it is okay to be a misfit, that you are just the right fit for Jesus. I do love you in the love of the Lord. We're going to get back to Nehemiah. Be blessed.